And welcome back, everyone. This is Radio Free Market, and I'm your host, Michael McKay. And with me today is Dr. Art Carden, and we're talking about the 9 Principles of Economics 101. And we were just talking about prices and how prices are actually created. And I wanted to also ask you to explain a little bit more about this, Art. If you could please explain how the consumer determines what will be produced. You know, there's a quote that pearls aren't valuable because men die for them. Men die for them because they are valuable.
Right.
So please, if you would comment on that.
Yeah. What gives something value is the fact that someone is willing to sacrifice his or her property to get it. If I'm willing to spend my time or my energy or my money in the pursuit of something, that's what gives it value. The fact that it can satisfy me in some way is what's going to make it valuable. So, for example, to pursue the pearls analogy, I've been married now for a little bit over 7 years, and we have 2 beautiful children. And one of the things that I value,
by the way.
Sorry. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things that I value very highly is my wife's happiness. So I'm willing to sacrifice in order to get that. And I don't want to make a promise I can't keep necessarily. But if I value, given the way that I value her happiness, if I think that a pearl necklace is an input into that into her happiness and therefore my happiness, then I'm going to value that pearl necklace. I'm going to be willing to trade something for it, the fruits of my labor expressed in my money income. And then that's going to give the pearls value. That's going to give the pearl divers labor value. That's going to give the people who make pearl necklaces value, that's going to give their labor value, and so on and so forth down the line. So the people are going to dive for the pearls because they can be used to make pearl necklaces that will make my wife happy and that will therefore make me happy. One of the truly beautiful things about this is that I don't have to know where pearls come from, even. I don't have to know how to make a pearl necklace. I don't need to know how to culture pearls or anything like that. All I need to know is where to find a good jewelry store.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about the third principle we're still on it, is that incentives motivate people to action. And in your article you talked about an entrepreneur will go into a certain industry because profits are high. And I like to bring it back to real life because I like personally seeing concrete examples. So can you give us a real life example of this that you've seen where an entrepreneur or a certain industry expands because the profits are so high?
An entrepreneur expands into an industry because profits are high. The flurry of the PC market in the late 1970s through the 1980s, 1990s, etc. Attempts to compete with Microsoft and Apple. People were pursuing very, very high or very, very, very large profit opportunities. Any gas station, there's going to be enormous competition in a local market for gasoline where people are going to be entering and exiting because they want to find ways to produce more profitably or to build the proverbial better mousetrap. Restaurants are a clear example of a situation in which people are perpetually seeking profits and innovating accordingly. Once firms like McDonald's saw nationwide success and started earning money hand over fist, they spawned an ocean of competitors.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. I'm looking at my cue cards right now. My example was PCs. That's like the perfect example because, look at what we can get for $500. You can get a computer that used to be the size of a tank or
Right.
An entire house. So I think that's a really good example of just the miracle of when people demand something, the price will come down because people have incentive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Over time, and this is one thing that introductory economics honestly doesn't handle as well as it should, and that's the incentives for innovation in the future. As people have opportunities to interact with one another, to trade, and to cooperate, they also have an incentive to divide their labor and innovate. So, for example, you mentioned high-quality computers. My wife and I got iPhones a couple of weeks ago, and these things have absolutely changed our lives. we can carry around in our pockets probably more computing power than existed in the world, almost certainly 100 years ago, almost definitely, and possibly probably 50 years ago.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. It's amazing the array of options that you have with these, with the iPhone and the iPad. It's astounding. Yeah.
Yep.
I recently made that switch myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to jump in here because we're going to actually bridge into, just for a brief moment, to talk about something fairly technical, which is your fourth principle, that people make decisions at the margin, that economic analysis is incremental. Now, I don't want to get too technical, and we are going to run out of time, and so I'm going to give you less than a minute to respond to this, so please go ahead.
Okay. This is one of the hardest concepts in all of economics. People are always making trade-offs. When we're engaged in economic analysis, we're comparing the cost and benefits of a little bit more of something to the cost and benefits of a little bit less of something. So, for example, coffee. We don't make categorical decisions like coffee is always good or coffee is always bad, but at the margin, am I willing to sacrifice a little bit more? Am I willing to sacrifice another $2 to get a cup of coffee?
Okay. So I am going to have to interrupt you, and we are going to have to take another break. When we come back, we'll wrap this particular question up, and then we'll move on because we have some wonderful other questions that we want to ask you and get into. So everyone, please stay with us. This is Radio Free Market. We'll be back in just a minute.